All right, we are all here. I'm really excited now. Eugene, Brooklyn, wow, City Term. Hi, City Term alumni. Hi. Oh, and I see some of my students. That's fantastic. Hello, students who have worked with me before. All right, let's do this. Um, so we're going to talk about talking. We are going to India. Thank you, India. Oh my gosh, so many people. Thanks, you guys, for coming. I love to talk about talking. Um, I think because I in general, I just like talking, period. Can I just have a show of hands of people that also enjoy talking? Like people that like talking in general? Oh, maybe the thing I should have asked is, okay, somebody's shaking their heads. Give me the people who don't like to talk. Okay. All right, Heather Andrews, I see you. I see you not liking to talk. Um, I love talking. I love talking because I find it to be a really faulty, delightful process that we as humans engage in. And if you've ever studied with me, I talk about this a lot, but has anyone ever seen that movie, Arrival? Have you guys seen that movie? It's like this amazing thing. There are these weird, you don't have to have seen the movie. Thank you, show of hands. You don't have to have seen the movie to get this, but basically what we're talking about in the movie is there are these incredible creatures. They look sort of like octopus elephants, and they come down to Earth, and they have this crazy thing, which is that they have a language that they speak that it takes us as humans a while to understand. And what they do is they shoot it out of their hands, and it's this perfect circle. And in that circle is everything you need to know, past and present. And so the way that this works on humans, the way that when we start to decipher this language, naturally what it leads to, and this is Ted Chiang, by the way, this incredible short story by him, naturally what it leads to is world peace, right? Because if we could understand everything we needed to know in the moment, if we could understand exactly what someone was trying to say to us, exactly what they were trying to communicate, then all of the ways that we fail each other, all of the ways we don't hear each other really wouldn't happen. And the problem is that we're humans, right? So what we have is not this like amazing thing that shoots out of our palms and tells you the entire story and everything you need to know. But we have mouthfuls that make mouth noises. And we kind of like honk at each other with our mouths and try to make sense. And a lot of times we don't. A lot of times in the moment that you are honking at someone making your mouth noises, they are thinking about the mouth noises they're going to be back at you, right? That is literally what's happening. So they're missing half of what your noises are, and they are coming at you with their own noises, which is why conversations are such a failure and also an amazing, amazing thing. When I say this with full love, because it's amazing to me that we as humans keep talking at all. It's amazing to me that like with this really limited capacity, by the way, my husband and I had one of those incredible like fight conversations that you have where it's like, is it a fight or is it a conversation? It's a little bit of both. That we like, it trailed over the entire house today and I was realizing at certain points, I was like, this is a great conversation. And then at other points I was like, we're going to get into fight. And you never know, right? It's kind of moment to moment. You're kind of having that thing happen. So how do you recreate that? How do you kind of find a place to recreate that, especially in comics? And I know we have some kids here, so I brought up some examples of how to do that are good for kid audience. But with the adults, I also want you to think about the power of the things that you don't say in a conversation, right? Like all the things that can't actually be said. So sometimes if you're writing down a conversation, you think you're going to write, how a fight goes, and somebody's saying to somebody, I can't stand it when you don't wash the dishes. And the other person says, I washed the dishes last week. But that's not actually how fights work, right? Somebody says, I can't stand that you didn't wash the dishes. And the other person's like, you never pick up your shoes. Or the other person says, I've never loved you. I mean, just crazy things can happen, right? In a conversation, they don't make sense. You jump to places. That's what we do as humans. I also hope that no one has ever said that I've never loved you after someone has not washed the dishes. Anyway, so I'm going to read you guys this little bit of a conversation between me and my son. Again, the Safe for Kids. And hold on one second. Kristen, do you see how I can share it?
Is the green button gone?
It says share, but it says one participant can share at a time, and there's nothing there for me to do. It says one participant can share at a time.
Lily, your host, is there anything you can do to check that? Or can you assign Mira as host?
If not, I can roll with it, you guys. If not, we can just keep going. We can go into what we're going to do. But if you can, it would be amazing. Give us 1 sec, you guys. Okay, let me see. Oh, here we go. Nice work. All right. Can y'all see that? Can you give me a thumbs up so I know? Yeah, all right. Thank you. All right, here we go. So the only thing you need to know about this conversation, this is a conversation that I had with my son after he'd had this kind of Michael Jackson obsession, and he had realized that he was brown, and and I am brown, and my husband is white, and he had a lot of questions about what that meant. And one of the questions was, is daddy afraid of us? Which was really hard. It was a hard question for me to hear. And also panicked because he didn't ask his dad. So this is me trying to kind of get us back on the right course in like a mom way. All right. Hey, so hold on 1 second, guys. That stuff the other day, I was thinking about the stuff the other day, and I think you should maybe talk to daddy, ask him if he's scared of you. I don't want to. Knock, knock. What? Knock, knock. Who's there? Mouse. Mouse who? Mouse, I am looking for my teeth. That's not really how a knock, knock joke works. Watch. Knock, knock. Who's there? Canoe. Canoe who? Canoe, come out and play with me? Get it? Yes. I just think if you ask daddy himself, then you make him a part of the conversation, which is good because knock, knock. Can we? Okay, who's there? Big Heart. Big Heart who? Big Heart Underpants Gorilla. I am not asking daddy about it. Why not? Because I don't want to hurt his feelings. But it won't hurt his feelings. He will feel left out. No, because we are brown and he is not, and it will make him sad. Oh. You know what, though? I don't think it will. I think if you just knock, knock, tell him, he'll feel like he's part of us because knock, knock. We're a family and we... Knock, knock! Who's there? Canoe. Canoe who? Canoe, stop talking about this? All right. So that is a tiny little bit of how that works, right? Hold on, I'm gonna get you guys back. You're back with me now, yeah? Good, okay. So you see what happened there, right? It's that both of us had our agenda. I had my, we're going to clearly understand each other in this very racially charged moment, and you are a small child, and this will all make sense to you, and it's all going to end up with a kumbaya at the end. And he was like, I want a knock knock joke, and I'm going to knock knock joke you to death. Which he did in that moment, which is his right? As a kid, like, you get to do that, man. So I want to take a moment for all of us to do an exercise together. We're going to do a couple different things, okay, over the course. One of the things I want you to do is I want you to take, let's say, 5 minutes. I want you to take 5 minutes to think about conversations in your lives that are either funny, things that made you laugh, things you didn't understand, or things that you kind of never figured out. And by that, I mean, the ones that you wake up at 3 a.m. and they're still going and you're figuring out the perfect comeback, like those conversations, the ones that stay with you because you've never really made sense with them. Like you've never come to a point where like, I definitely understand what that conversation was about and where it's going. Those conversations? those ones that sort of live and funny in you. Okay. I want you to write down just 5 ways that you will understand which conversation it was. Give me a single line. 5 of those conversations. Just take the time to do it. And you don't have to write down the entire conversation, but I want you to think in your brain about the conversations that live in that way with you. And if you have time in this 5 minutes, I want you to start writing whichever one appeals to you. Okay? So do that for 5 minutes. I'm going to start talking. If you have any questions in the chat, you can drop them in and I will answer you. And then we'll come back, and I'm putting on my timer right now. Okay. Don't freak out if you haven't gotten far. It's okay. It's okay. Sometimes when you start remembering, right, it all sort of comes to you and your brain gets a little jumbled up. So I'm going to give you more time to do that. But let me just answer a couple questions that came up in the chat. For the purpose of this assignment, is there a difference between an oral conversation versus an email exchange? The big difference, I think, is that for the purpose of this assignment, the oral conversation is just going to be a little more stilted, right? It's going to be a little more repetitive. You're going to have to think about the beats more, where people are already sort of self-editing in an email. So they're already sort of trying to land perfectly. I don't know if I should even say this out loud, but my husband actually won't let me email him because I'm a writer and he's a filmmaker, and he says he's outgunned if we're exchanging emails. So anyway, just to say, I think the conversation itself can be a little jumpy. The other thing, though, the right in between there, frankly, is the text conversation. So you could work with that if you're a little more comfortable with that. Okay, finding so many memorable conversations. Yeah, fantastic. I'm really delighted about that. Okay. So you guys, as I was kind of thinking through this, I wanted to, and guys at The Believer, I'm going to need to share my screen again. So whatever you need to do for that would be great. It's not letting me yet, but I think we will. The way that I do my work, as you saw in that last bit, was I sort of create two characters, and then I riff on them a little bit. What I do is I let them be static, and then I think around them. I think around what it is they're trying to say to each other, and how, and what they're hearing and what they're not hearing. And a lot of that very much has to do, again, with the idea of what you can't say. So this is going to be a little more of a grown-up example, but I'm actually seeing a lot of grown-ups here, so I'm adjusting as we go. For example, when you have, let's say you saw somebody who thought that they saw, let's say you have a girlfriend that thought she saw her boyfriend with someone else, right? The thing that she's probably not going to ask him when she sees him the next time, if she's a person that doesn't know how to just say the thing that's on her mind, which most of us are not, is who was that and who were you with? And why are you with them, right? But there's a lot of other ways she can try to get that information. There's a lot of other ways that conversation can be circular. So it's, where were you? Oh, how was that? Was that cool? Great. No, yeah, so who did you see there? Oh, great, right? It's that kind of thing where you know that there's a subtext. When you, the reader, are reading it, you know that there's something there. There's something that she's trying to uncover, but it's not apparent to you. When I'm doing this in my work, because my work is a lot about race, and it's a lot, and most people can't say what's on their mind with race, right? Most of the time it's a powder keg. My sense is that the reason that Twitter is the place it is, where everybody has those perfect comebacks and the kind of I gotcha moments, is because it is so hard to pin. Because those moments when we're out there with our feelings, it is so hard to say the right thing. It is so hard to even know what it is you're trying to say. And so if you get a chance to kind of craft that moment, you want to re-narrate it, right? You want it to be different. So yeah, it's still not showing up for me, guys. But anyway, oh, there we go. All right, hold on. I did a real simple one, again, kid friendly, but you guys can take this to the adult place. These all the things that I'm talking about here, I'm telling you the kid version of doing it, but I'll tell you that this is actually how I do it for myself. This is actually how I get out a complicated race conversation in a comic. Okay, so here we got, first of all, I gave you two little characters. They're ridiculous. You see my little characters. They're really just representational. I did them this way so I could just absolutely repeat them, and it's not hard, right? And to leave their faces where they are so that I can concentrate on the words. And they're just holding space on the page. Okay, so we've got two kids. How are you? I'm fine. How are you? I'm okay. What did you do today? Well, actually, it wasn't the best day. What happened? I stepped in dog poop. Ew, what did you do? Then I slid across the sidewalk. And then what happened? happened? I fell into a garbage can of throw up. This is actually, by the way, my son helped me write this. Thank you. And then a rat pooped on top of the dog poop on me. That sounds like a terrible day. It was a terrible day. Okay. That is the beats of a conversation as you think it might happen when you're imagining writing a conversation that you think a reader needs to read. But let's talk about how tension works and what you actually need to have on the page, because how are you? I am fine. How are you is a really easy way to lose all of the tension that you could possibly have in a spoken conversation, because people rarely listen to each other. It might be that sometimes you hear, how are you, and you say, I am fine. But then a lot of other times you do something different. So if we go over here and we take out some of this stuff, right? How are you? Okay, take out, I'm fine, how are you? Take out, I'm okay, what did you do today? If you just go with this, how are you? Well, actually, it wasn't the best day. You didn't need the other two, right? Scoop those out. What happened? I stepped in dog poop. That's one way to do it, right? Another way, if you wanted to make it even shorter, is to take out this and take out this, and then you can change it a little. How are you, right? I stepped in dog poop. You see how that shifts immediately? It shifts exactly what's happening. Like you go from this place to this place, and all of a sudden, and you understand the connection between them, and you needed much less. If you want, you can say, how was your day? I stepped in dog poop. If you need to get the time indicator in there, right? So let's try that. Oh, whoops, sorry, I needed all capitals for that. One sec. I stepped in dog poop. All right. So now we go to the next one. Ooh, what did you do? And then let's talk about, and then what happened? And then, right? Because those are the things that you might even say in a conversation, but those are really dead things to read on a page because they're just keeping time. They're not actually, oh, someone asked me what the software is. This is just InDesign. But to be honest, I just want to tell you the way that I originally did this was I just drew them all on paper whenever I do my conversations, and then I would slash through whatever I didn't need and edit that way. I did it on an actual page for a long time. Okay, so ooh, what did you do? Then I slid across the sidewalk. And then what happened? So, and then what happened? That's a kind of nothing question, right? There's nothing in there. There's nothing interesting in there because you're just keeping time. Ooh can be its own repetitive force, though. If you were to do this, and then you were to do this, right? Ooh, what did you do? Then I slid across the sidewalk. Ooh, then, and then you just add then here. Then I fell into a garbage can of throw up. Ooh, then a rat pooped on top of me. If you just change those beats, it's essentially the same conversation. I'm so sorry about the graphic nature of this. My 12-year-old apologizes to you. But if you do that, then you've all of a sudden got the beats of what it's like to feel like you're in that conversation. Does that make sense? You've got the kind of the rhythm and the tone that will make it funnier, and it also punches out of the page in a different way. And all you're doing is playing with, you're not telling a conversation that isn't true, you're playing with the cadence of it. Okay. That sounds like a terrible day. Hold on, so that's my question. That sounds like a terrible day. It was a terrible day. Right there, you've got a really repetitive moment, right? That sounds like a terrible day. It was a terrible day. It sounds, yeah. If you take this and go to, if you just take this and erase the terrible day, right? That sounds like, oh, sorry. That sounds like, take out the A maybe. That sounds like it was a terrible day, right? You've broken it up. You've made it into something where you're getting the same exact thing across. Thank you, my 12-year-old, the compliments. Okay, you're getting the exact same thing across, but you're using the beats of the conversation to propel it across the page. So just so you know, let's just go back and read that same thing that we were doing. How was your day? I stepped in dog poop. Ooh, what did you do? Then I slid across the sidewalk. Ooh, then I fell into a garbage can of throw up. Ooh, then a rat pooped on me. A rat pooped on top of the dog poop on me. Thank you, Zakir, for that great line. That sounds like it was a terrible day, right? I'm going to just get us out of here so that we no longer have to look at this crazy conversation. All right, I know that was a 12-year-old's version of a conversation, but I want you to think about how that works in your life. I want you to go back to that conversation that you were starting to write. And I want you to spend the next 5 minutes writing, and then I'm going to tell you when it's time. And then I want you to think about everything you can lose. So first, just go for it. And then we're going to think about what you can lose in those beats to protect the cadence and protect the energy between the beats. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions in the chat. And I'll put on my timer again. Okay, hold on. I'm going to answer some of your questions. You guys are writing a lot of questions. I'm going to let everybody write, and then I'll promise I'll get to your questions when we kind of wrap up. Or actually, we're not wrapping up that soon. You guys, there's some great questions, and I want to make sure that I'm going to get to all of them. So I'm going to talk a little bit. I know this is recorded. You can always come back and listen to it. And if it's bugging you, just turn down the volume, and I'll I'll do a lot of this when it's time to come back. Okay. Somebody asked, how do you write silence when you're so shocked you don't know what to say? A really good way to do that in a comic is just to let one person do the talking, and then the other person doesn't have any words, right? Or you can do a bubble up here that has something, and then the person doesn't respond, and a bubble down here. And that lets you know that there's a beat in between them. I use silence a lot in my work. I also do whole panels where two people who are in a conversation just have absolutely nothing being said between them. And that holds the space really well. Let's see. Somebody asked about if I'm doing a conversation with a therapist, and the space is supposed to be that of mutual respect. So the tone was very controlled. Is that a bad thing? No, that's not a bad thing at all. That's a really good thing to think about in terms of the energy, because what you're thinking about then is, where is it controlled? Who's got the control? Usually the therapist has more of the control in that situation. And what does it feel like when the person who's receiving the therapy runs a little off the rails or doesn't? What does it feel like if the dynamic switches? How do you break the rhythms? Like, you can, if you've established a controlled rhythm, how do you break it so that we know something else is happening, right? There's a way to kind of do that. So you have one kind of sort of therapist speak, and then you have another person saying, but like, wait, and punctuating into the sort of beautiful airtight space with just weird old humanity. Yep, Mary points out you could also add a bubble of silence. People do that all the time too. Just sometimes I do that. I really like to. I really do like giving space around things if it's possible. That's just my personal preference. Let's see. Hold on, let me ask. Static characters. Hold on. Seems like you want cadence, but then say the conversations are just keeping time. Isn't that the same thing? What is the meaning of rhythm and cadence? What is the meaning of rhythm and cadence? What I'm looking for is to, when I'm writing dialogue, the thing I'm thinking of is how do you replicate the feeling of being in conversation without obsessively, by the way, it's 5 minutes, you guys, so everyone can come back for a moment if you want. I'm still talking about the questions. Hold on, I'm gonna do the thing that I said I do, which is like a lot of this. Come on back if you're not listening. I hope you're back with me. What I'm thinking of when I'm writing dialogue is how do you replicate the feeling of being in a conversation without doing that very tedious thing of the ums and the ahs and the ohs, right, which are terrible, or being so faithful to what's actually said between people that you miss the energy between them. So that's what I'm kind of leaning for there. And somebody else said, and this is a great question, you're not looking for resolution, right? Just the tension of the conversation? Yes. This to me is the most important thing. We always feel like we have to resolve conversations, and they almost never do. And even if they do, it's really kind of boring, frankly. Like, I am always looking for the tension. I am always, and this might be, by the way, due to my terrible upbringing, because my mother has this habit of when we're on the phone and we're talking, she does this thing of she never says goodbye. Does anyone else's mother do that? Like, we're in the middle of a conversation. Oh, thank you. Yeah, okay. Oh, right. Pronounce all the South Asians. Okay. So we're in the middle of a conversation. I'm sort of like, oh, that's great, Mom. Okay, so I'll see you this weekend. She hangs up. Like, there's not a goodbye. There's not anything. And so the non-resolution of that might have channeled itself into my psyche in some way. But what I like to think about in that, someone else's mom just hangs up on them. What I like to think about in that is when you leave the tension on the page, when you don't resolve it, what you allow your reader to do is to imagine into that moment. They can resolve it. Your reader can resolve it any way they want to. Your reader, they're reading for the tension. They're actually not reading for the resolution. We live to see that tension. We live to understand how we hold it in ourselves and in each other. So giving your reader the opportunity to expand into that is a huge gift. It's a huge gift. Let me see if there are any other questions. All right. Not right now, but feel free to drop in more. I think I got them. If I missed anybody's, then tell me that I missed it. But I want to do the second part of this, which is whatever you've written now. And don't worry if you're not done. But I want you to look at it again. We're just going to do this part kind of quick. I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes this time. I want you to see how much you can slim down the beats, right? So I went through that conversation where it went all the way to how are you? I stepped in dog poop. There's all that filler in between, and we got to that. I want you to look to how you can slim your beats down to as tight a place as possible while still preserving something that feels essential to you in the conversation. Okay? I'm going to give you 3 minutes to do that. If people have more questions, you can pop them in the chat. I will just keep answering them, and then we'll meet back in 3 minutes. One of the things, and I'll say this again at the end, but one of my favorite things to do as an exercise is to write a conversation in which one person knows something that the other doesn't, because that happens so much in life, and because there's so much energy that happens in that moment, the expenditure of trying to keep the thing in and the natural ways that that sort of organically seeps out to me is part of this whole problem of having mouth holes and noises that we honk at each other. If anyone, by the way, so one of my favorite writers of dialogue just in literature is Dennis Johnson. I don't know if people have read a lot of him, but he's a great dialogue writer. And because he does this, because he slims things down really to the bone. And I feel like there's a way in which you can really sense the energy in what he doesn't say. And it's really kind of marvelous. In terms of people that write dialogue in comics that I really love, if you all have read, my favorite thing is Monsters. She's pretty great at that. And her dialogue wanders all over the place. But it feels really gorgeously kind of true to life, and the way that she captures it. I just read this book with my class again, and I was really having a great time with that dialogue and sort of feeling how rich it felt on the page. Roz Chast, totally. Absolutely. Hey, Mary, are you asking us to preserve the authenticity of the essence rather than the authenticity of what we recall from the actual conversation? Absolutely, Daniel Yang. That is exactly what I'm asking you to do. The actual conversation, maybe we should talk about this a little bit. We should, and I don't want anyone to miss out on this part. So I'm going to put a pin in that one and come right back to it, because I think that's a really big question. Oh, Adrian, yep. I love these suggestions that you guys have for who you love in dialogue. All right, we have about 30 seconds left, so do what you can. Rutamalan, yeah. Who Johnson? Dennis Johnson. Okay. So, Hillary Price, Ray Carver, absolutely. All right. So, you've gotten to wherever you've gotten. Don't worry if it's not done. I think this is something that, for me, it takes me a little while. So I write the conversation, and then I cut it and I cut it and I cut it. I slip it into place, and then I see how it's working. When I was doing this, by the way, with just paper, what I would do is I would cut out the dialogue bubbles, write the dialogue in there, and then I would keep moving them and keep moving them. It's the whole reason that I started going with InDesign, because I realized it was going to take me 27 years to write a book. But if you want the fun of trying this exercise out, it really is kind of a great way to just really see what you're doing, and making things shorter and shorter. Okay, somebody asked me this great question, Daniel Yang, I think, about, is it the essence of the conversation, or is it are you trying to remember it verbatim? And I have a really strong opinion about this, because people ask me that all the time with my book. So my book, I wrote a book that's almost entirely conversations that have taken place throughout my life. And one of the big things that happens when I'm touring with it is people are like, well, I don't understand how you remembered that conversation if you didn't have a recorder with you, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, so no, right? I didn't have a recorder with me. I have the way that the conversation lived in me, the way that I've woken up with it at 4 a.m. for 7 years since. I have the way that it has taken shape in me, things that may or may not have been said, but I absolutely felt were said to me. And that is true of all of us with every experience we have. For example, we're going to get off this call and y'all are going to have 27,000 different versions of what I said. That's just what we do as humans. We don't have a central recording unit. So the thing that you're trying to do in this moment is show up to tell the truth as it was for you, what your experience was. A couple things about that I find to be really helpful. One is, I know when I'm cheating to make myself look better. It's a really creepy feeling. We kind of all know this. Has anyone ever told a friend a story about a fight and you start lying about the details because in the telling you sound like a jerk, right? Like, we've all done this, haven't we? I see some people being like, yes, and other people like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm a terrible person. But anyway, I think we've all done this. I think we've all had that moment where we're like, oh, you are absolutely not, you're absolutely not agreeing with me, and I'm going to change the version of this. When you write down your own conversations, when you're making a memoir style comic, you are really trying to lean very hard away from the part of you that wants to preserve your ego. And there's a couple ways that couple things that I ask myself in that moment. If I'm writing a fight, if I'm writing something that is that's really hard for me to get to the truth of, the thing that I always ask myself, if I feel like I've been too hard on the people that I'm fighting with, or if I feel like I've exposed them in some way, I ask myself if I'm writing for clarity or vindication, and it's a really easy test. It's a really easy test. I know myself pretty well, and I know what it's like to feel like I want somebody to hate the person that I'm writing about. And if that's what's motivating me, that's usually a conversation that goes in a drawer. That's usually a conversation I need to write because I need to create that stuff and I need to get it out of my system and I need to have a place for all those worrisome things that we have in our souls, right? There's that stuff. But if that's what I'm doing in that conversation, I usually put it in a drawer. If I look at it and I say, oh no, you're doing that thing, you're covering for yourself because there's something really painful here and you don't really want to know what it is and you're not looking vulnerable enough and you're not looking messy enough. I go back and I try to fix it until I am the messy person that I am. And I'll just say about doing that and about the sort of psychological risk of doing that, I found it really rewarding, to be honest. I found it really rewarding to go back and look at the moments where I'm at my spongiest and where I'm not necessarily my best self and I'm nowhere near the kind of person that can compose themselves to win all the wars of Twitter, when I am that weird creature that I am and I can get to that. I find it incredibly relieving to lean into that because every time I've written a piece like that, I've always found that that's the one that people come back to me with. That's the one where people feel that they were held. And it is the opposite of what you think. You think that people need a hero. Nobody needs a hero. Nobody needs a hero. I mean, some people need a hero, but like really nobody needs you to be a hero when you're writing and when you're creating. They need you to be a human. And they need you to be a human in the way that they are a human. And to do that, you just kind of have to open yourself up to what that process is going to look like. Do you guys have any questions for me? I want you to start with these. So what we're going to do now for the next, let's say, 5 to 7 minutes, whatever you have so far for your conversation, whatever, let's say the first 3 beats. Oh, wait, they're saying do 5 minutes so we can share. Okay, 5 minutes, you guys. 5 minutes. I want you to start drawing what this conversation looks like. Don't worry if you get to all of it. Just try to get to 2 or 3 beats. I want you to draw the panels, do characters that are very simple for you to draw over and over. As you see, I had triangle head guy and regular head guy. You can be really silly about this. It doesn't matter. You're just trying to get the 2 characters and the conversation and a couple different beats of what that looks like, okay? And keep dropping your questions in. Somebody said, doesn't opening up include showing what's in the drawer? It totally does. It totally does. True. I like to make myself the villain because I'm so timid and accommodating in real combos. Yeah, absolutely. I think those, though, I think it's also, Anna, to kind of talk a little bit about that. There is such a relief in having that power and in giving yourself that power that's so real. And I mean, I'm just thinking about, I got busted when I was like 13 for writing this version of, my family was going through a very hard time. We were in like family therapy, and what I wanted actually in that moment was, it was very hard. It was hard to be crying. It was hard to see my parents crying. It was hard to see everybody crying. And what I really wanted from that moment was to be like this incredibly tough person. So I wrote a version of a letter. I wrote a version of what I wished I had been to my boyfriend at the time. And I was such a badass in it. And I like yelled and I punched my hand through a wall and it was super great. And I was like really great at saying all the bad things I was feeling. And the only problem was my dad intercepted the letter, which to be honest, I wasn't going to send to him, but I kind of just needed to write it anyway. And then my dad was like, "Who is this? And why are you lying? And what are you doing?" And he was really upset with me too. He was like, "I didn't throw a chair," and I was like, "No, you definitely didn't throw a chair." But I needed him to. Like in my head, I needed it to be like that. I needed that thing to happen. Which is to say, that's one place for sure. But the place I'm actually really curious about, Anna, is that thing of like what it's like to see you be timid in a conversation. What it's like to have that silence, to not always say the right thing, to feel the faltering. Because I think that's really amazing when we do that. All right, you guys have, I think, 3-ish minutes left. I always cast myself as a victim. Totally. That's totally cool. Yeah. Of course. So we got 3 more minutes to draw, and then we're going to share whatever you want to share. And I would love to see what you're doing. Yeah, no, it's great to cast yourself as the victim. People really, because no one ever does that. Yeah, I mean, villain, victim, the 2 poles. Where's the weird human part? That's the part you're always looking for, right? I love that I've sort of terrified everybody out of asking questions. I'm so sorry. Just drawing, yay! Okay, all right. Too much to think about. Sorry, don't even think about this. We're good. You can come back and watch. You're doing great. Aha, great question. If you don't end with a perfect quip or some sort of closure, how do you know when to move on to the next scene, chapter, etc.? Okay, one thing I would say is I did read you a section with a perfect quip. It was a setup for a joke. That's the only place you can really get away with the perfect quip if you're writing about your actual life, because we don't tend to end things on perfect quips. But what I always like to think about instead of that is what can you end on that will leave your reader spinning through the rest of the conversation, right? You don't have to end it. Where can you end it where your reader is still spinning forward in the conversation, still needing to know what would have happened? I feel like that's, it's almost, and that's sort of true of when you read kind of a good book as well. Like when you finish a really good book or a really good story, all right, we're going to stop. Don't freak out. You're doing great. You can come back to this. I do want to see some of these. But just to kind of answer that last part, when you're reading a great book, I always think of that feeling. I don't know what you guys have for like your feelings about ending a book, but my favorite feeling is the part where you read that last sentence and it's like you fall through the page. Like you're just falling all the way through it because you're just launching forward into a place where you are still in the story. It is still in you. You are still moving with it. It doesn't end anything for you. It continues everything for you. All right, Now, let's go to Meg. You want to do yours? Meg Rock? And if you'd like to share, please click the raise your hand button, okay? Yeah, I'd love to have Meg Rock share. How do we do that, The Believer?
Hello. Hi,
Hello.
joining from Chicago, Illinois. Really excited to be here. Have loved all of the Believer comic series so far. Excited. So I decided to write a conversation about coming out with new pronouns to a second grade class that I participate in.
Yes.
And it was really nerve-wracking. And I spent this long time explaining, like, pronouns are part of speech. I'm changing mine. I'm really nervous. And it's a digital classroom, so I can't read the room at all. I went, okay, any questions? And one of my students went, okay, Mix Meg. Miss N, can we call you Mix N? And it was like absolutely not the question I was expecting. I was expecting to have to answer questions about like who I was as a person, why I had done this. And this tiny second grader whom I love absolutely flipped the script and was just like, oh, what about you? And it was really delightful.
I love that. I love that. That's amazing. Thank you. Oh, that was amazing. All right. Who do we have? We have Susanna Spear.
We've got Preeta up right now.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. It's Preeta. I didn't see. Okay, great. Let's see.
Can you see it? It's a little horrible.
Go back up a little bit. Yeah. Okay.
Sort of pencil.
Yeah.
So it's like really not visible, is it? Hold on.
Not too visible, but you can also polish the beats. That's okay.
So
okay, here we go. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's like this conversation that I was having an emotional relationship with somebody.
Yeah.
Over text for a year.
For a year.
Yeah, I'm a fucking loser. But sorry, children. Sorry.
No, you're
very bad. Don't do that. It's complicated, children.
We have a rule in my house, which is that you can curse for art. So this is art.
Okay. So essentially, like, you can't really read this.
Well, can you read it? Can you read just a few little bits?
Sure. Cool. Basically, it goes, did you read it? I can't imagine it's easy to sell that. Exactly. Yeah. And then there's like images of we're like super talking to each other.
Yeah,
You can't
I love the mouths. No, I can't. We can see the mouths. The mouths are amazing.
And then the dialogue is this. I miss this, right? You know there's magic between us. When are you coming back? September. We're going to be on the island still. We? I still haven't told her. I mean, it's been a year. I guess she's my girlfriend now.
Good. So good.
That is like,
what a heartbreak.
What a dick. I'm sorry, number two.
Cursing for art. Amazing.
So like, that's what,
yeah, I can see it. That's amazing. Oh, I love the way you did the little circles too. Beautiful.
And then those are like the molecules between us. And then
feel the molecules.
And then that's it. That's it.
Amazing. Beautiful. Thank you. Love it. Thank you. All right. Who's next?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Zuja. I'm coming from Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I have one panel with, I once had a teacher who challenged me to do comics in 4 panels. So I tried to do it 4 panels, and only one of them has conversation in it because this conversation I was playing with silence.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really give the context, but basically I was in a room with a bunch of other grad students in my department. And then the only panel with the text says, it has me with my bun, saying my dad's British and then someone else cuts in and says, that explains why your English is so good. And then I just look and turn away and leave. I wish I could have done in that situation instead I went back to my work.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Also just if you want to draw that again, I would have loved to also see you going back to your work because that's what we do, right?
Yeah, it was more that like I was like, that's too much drawing right now.
Okay, yeah, for sure, for sure. But I love the idea of like, you've just knifed me. I go back to work, right? Like beautiful.
Yeah, and I would love to draw this with like the context of other people around too, because
Totally.
actually everyone there was just so shocked that none of us could say anything, and we just all
Amazing.
kind of went back to our work. But I was
oh my God, I would so want to see that. Amazing, amazing. Thank you. Love it. Hello. I know you.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, great to see you.
It's good to see you too. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for coming.
I had an experience where I found earthworms in the backyard yesterday, and I kind of freaked out a little bit. And it starts out, the call is coming from inside the house. Yes. Are you
lying down?
Are you lying down?
Yeah.
Yes. And that's as far as I got in the drawing, but then it was like, hi, there are worms in my nose. There are not worms in your nose. Quit laughing at me. I'm sorry, honey. You saw 3 worms and picked them up and moved them. It was traumatic. It was. Now just let it go. Worms. No worms. Maybe if you kiss me, they'll go away. That's the best come on line I've ever heard.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. I love it. Maybe they'll kiss me, they go, amazing. Thank you. I love it. Gorgeous. All right. Hey.
Hi, everyone. My name's Alyssa. I'm from New York. Thank you so much for doing this. So most Friday nights during the pandemic, I've had Friday night calls with one of my closest friends from college who is now in grad school because he is smart and I am lazy. So I've tried to capture what those calls are like, what the tenure of those calls are like. And so I've called this comic Friday Night Insights, like Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
Around and been very alert.
Wait,
and
someone else?
the guy who was rollerblading.
Hey, someone else? Everyone check to make sure you're muted. All right, keep going. Oh, no, you're muted a little bit. You can't unmute.
Oh, okay, great.
Back to back.
Okay, yes. So usually it starts off with usually our calls, our Friday night calls, insight calls, multi-hour phone calls start off with one of us, usually me, because I'm a little bit more type A, Facebook messengering the other, being like, hi, around for a call. And he'll usually be like, sure, and give me a time, or, say, sorry, I have a Finnish exam, but let's do this tomorrow. And then I will say the one word I know in Finnish. And during our calls, can't tell if any of you can read this, but during our calls, we can talk about anything from, that's a question that was asked. Or he likes Cookie Monster memes, so sometimes I'll be like, have you seen this Cookie Monster meme? Or we'll talk about things like, what do we want to be, whether we've made, mistakes with our careers. That's usually from him going to grad school. Or just anything, anything from, announcing what we're eating. And hopefully, I think of this is like a good visual representation of what friendship feels like to me, where you can really talk about anything and never run out of things to talk about.
And I love the visual solution. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
wow, that's really great. Thank you so much. Hi.
Hi, I just was unmuting myself. You'd think I'd be used to that by now. You're of Zoom. So this is not me being humble. This is me admitting I didn't fully follow your instructions, so I didn't pare it down enough. Okay. I'm a writer and sometimes I make comics, so I have a lot of text. So I'll just summarize this and I'll show you the drawings.
Okay.
Basically, it was a conversation between me and my doctor at the doctor's office. And
wow, great. I
wrote a lot. this is me counting all of my ailments.
Amazing.
And partly that's because I move a lot and I switch doctors a lot, and I just want to fill them in as quickly as possible. Like, here's my whole life story, and here's everything you need to know about me.
Yes, the dump.
Yeah, and it's also it's a precarious health insurance situation because I just started a new job during the pandemic. That awkward conversation is accentuated by wearing masks or being on Zoom for telemed. So here I'm listing all of the things that are wrong.
Oh, and beautiful layering. Love the layering. Yep, absolutely.
And then finally, often these conversations, because I have new health insurance, I've gone to a new therapist, new dentist, new eye doctor, new primary care, because I was on Medicaid and now I'm finally have health insurance. So usually all of them have said the same thing. You're young and healthy, check in back in next year. And I say, but what if you're missing something and I die or lose my health insurance? Or
Amazing. Amazing.
And they say, no, you don't need a breast exam.
Wait, I have to, so good. Wait, I need to ask because people are asking, did you just draw this tonight?
I did. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I knew it, but I wanted to, people are saying you're incredible, but my favorite, wait, I have to read you this one thing that made me just laugh. Okay. Shimmy Bose wrote, what the actual flarn? That's amazing. I don't even know what that means, but it makes me laugh just to read that. That's a perfect line of dialogue. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right. Who do we have here? Hello, people.
Hello.
Hi.
So,
Hey, Sarah.
Last year in third grade, my friends left me out, and it made me. They were talking about something. And they left me out, and it made me annoyed. So I wrote a comic about them talking about something and leaving me out, and me getting annoyed.
Oh, that's so good. Do you want to read it?
Okay. What are you talking about? Nothing. Wait, what? Can you tell me what you're talking about? No, it's like we'll tell you later.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing. By the way, that was amazing. Thank you for reading. Is there more? No. Can I comment on that? Okay. I love that you read that. Because I think we all relate to that too. I think everybody has been left out of a conversation, and that's such a great human moment to talk about. I so appreciate you bringing that to us. Thank you. Okay, hi.
Hi. I don't really want to show this work because it's just a sketch, but I have a question about the dialogue in the center.
Okay, yeah. Tell me. I can't read it, but you're gonna have to tell me what it is. Gorgeous. Yeah.
So I went to buy a shelf on Craigslist, and the guy said, it was standing back, like 2 doorways back. He said, "Just put the money in the mailbox." And so I did, and then I found out the shelf was broken on the side. I said, "Well, it's broken. I want my money back." Now that's the question I have right there, because I want to get to the point where he had not yet taken out the money out of the mailbox, and then he came forward those 2 doors and reached in and grabbed it at the same time I did, and so we had like a physical contact, not fight, but just physical contact. And I want to get to that point, but I'm stuck on the setup.
So how can you set that up? So one of the things that I would pay attention to, and I don't know how this will work as a solution for you, but it sounds like the thing that's at stake in that is the money, right? Like is it between you and he's going to grab it, right? Is that what's happening?
Yeah. Well, that was at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I think what you want to do in that moment is show us the money and like focusing on the money with the people in the background a little bit, because their interaction, we can have the dialogue, but what we really need to know is where's the money and who's going to grab it. And I think if you have that and you sort of use the dialogue, I don't think you need to, I think the way you would set that up is a little bit like, great, so I'm going to take the money, right? That's the kind of thing that's happening. And then you're saying, well, no, wait, it's broken, but you see his hand come and get the money, right? That's the basic interaction of what you're looking for. Is that right?
Yes, but I wanted to show that he wasn't so proactive. I wanted to say that he's kind of setting things up so that he can be mean to me. it's kind of like he wants to pick a fight with somebody. I mean, this is really what it felt like through the whole thing. He wanted to pick a fight with somebody, so he was like leaving the money in the box intentionally so there could be conflict later on.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wouldn't be like him reaching in to grab the money. It'd be only when I'm starting to react, at that point, he would then go for the money.
Got it. Okay. So then I think you need to write, right? You need to write the tension up. So it's sort of a little bit that he's leading you there, right? He's leading you into a fight and you're sort of following him into it. Thank you so much. Wait, we know we need to get to a couple more people. Who's this? Who do we have? Hi. Winter.
What up?
Winter Miller.
Hi. I didn't think that was going to happen. I was already starting to, I don't know, make something. Okay, so since I didn't draw it, well, I got this far. But here's what I want you to picture.
Mm-hmm.
There's two people upside down in a bed. You just hear like heads, pillow.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, okay, great. Genius. Okay, here's the dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Person A, this isn't working. Person B, what are you saying? Person A, I want us. Person B, you have us. You have me. Person A, but not like this. Person B, do you mean you're done? Person A, not what I'm saying. Person B, what are you actually saying? Person A, I should just go to bed. Person B, I feel like you've already left. Person A, maybe tomorrow will be different. So it would be like this.
Yeah, and you cut some things out. I see that. Amazing. Love it. I feel this one. I feel it in my heart.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Okay, you guys, we just ran out of time, but here's what I want you to do. Thank you so much, first of all. Thank you so much for coming tonight. It has been a really hard week, and it means so much to me that you came. I really want to see what you made. I'm sorry that we've run out of time. I want to see what you made. So if you can do this, if you could tag us on social media, you can tag me. It's Good Talk Thanks on Instagram, and tag Believer. And the Friday Night Comics, if you can do that, I will find them all week. I love it when I see this stuff later. And I especially love your conversations. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you for doing this with me. Thank you for donating to the COVID relief in India. It matters so much to me. I appreciate it. My family appreciates it. It's so great to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mira. Everybody, please thank Mira.
Hi, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
It was amazing.
Thank you.
Just amazing.
Thank you.